We are now building the full drop and pickup logic for inventory items, so stay tuned. We start by opening the project in Unreal Engine 5.7, and we need to apply a few small fixes so the inventory UX continues to work correctly. The first change happens inside the player character blueprint. Go into the input mappings graph. Since 5.6, there have already been some issues here, and in 5.7 this becomes even more noticeable. What we do now is remove the entire add input mapping flow from the player character, including the input and output pins. After removing those pins, this collapsed graph becomes more of a simple organizational block, where we group inventory manager related events, instead of handling input setup here. Now we move over to the player controller. Inside event begin play, right after the branch where we check for the local player controller, which ensures this logic only runs on the owning client, we add the input setup again. To do this, right-click and get the Enhanced Input Local Player Subsystem from the Local Player Subsystem category. This subsystem is responsible for managing input mappings per local player, which is exactly what we need in a multiplayer setup, so each client handles their own input correctly. From this node, call Add Mapping Context and connect it directly to the true execution pin of the branch. This adds the input mapping at runtime for the local player, which ensures the input system is initialized properly. Now make sure to select the correct mapping context. In our case, we still use IMC default from the older 5.5 setup, which keeps all existing input bindings working as expected. Next, we fix an important issue introduced in 5.7. We are using our custom as input key pressed function to detect which key is currently pressed. However, inside this function, the mappings node is now deprecated. Instead, we replace it with default key mappings. This node returns a struct, but we need an array for each loop. So we simply break the default key mappings struct, which gives us access to the array we need. We then plug this array into our existing for each loop instead of the old mappings node. With this change, the input detection works correctly again, and the UX behaves as expected. Now compile and save everything, then enter play mode to test. You should be able to give yourself items, open and close the inventory, and everything should work smoothly again. With these two small fixes done, we can now move on to the drop item logic. Before we implement that logic, we first need a simple item that we can place into the world. As mentioned before, we are not focusing on a perfect folder or class structure here, so we create a new blueprint class based on actor named BP_item base directly inside the inventory system folder, because an actor can exist directly in the world, which makes it the right base class for dropped items that need a transform, collision, and later multiplayer replication. This will be a very simple and lightweight item blueprint, designed to only contain the necessary functionality, but still flexible enough to be used for all item types. Open BP item base and add a static mesh component. Rename it to item static mesh, which will visually represent the item in the world. For multiplayer, it is very important that we now drag this static mesh component onto the default scene root, so it becomes the new root component of the blueprint. This is required because in multiplayer scenarios, having a proper root component for the visual representation ensures correct transforms, replication behavior, and interaction handling. Without this, you can run into issues where items are not positioned or synchronized correctly across clients. Now at the top inside class settings, we add our BPI interact interface, so this actor can react to interaction and execute the logic that adds the item into our inventory. Now on the left side, you can see the three interface functions from our interact system. We will take care of those in a moment. First, switch over to class defaults and enable replicates for this blueprint, which ensures this actor is synchronized across the network and visible for all clients in a multiplayer environment. Keep in mind, you will only see the replicate setting when you have the BP item base self-selected in the blueprint. To have something visible for testing, we now assign a mesh to item static mesh. For that, select the item static mesh, and on the right side you can now change the static mesh. I am using the iron axe from my MSG course, but you can use any mesh you like. When selecting a mesh, make sure it has collision. To check this, open the static mesh and enable simple collision in the viewport using the small eye drop-down. You will then see the collision in light green, which shows the currently existing collision setup. If your mesh does not have collision, make sure to add one, otherwise the item will later fall through the ground. Now go back to the BP item base blueprint and enable simulate physics on the item static mesh, and also make sure it has a valid mass, which allows the item to behave like a physical object in the world and react naturally when dropped. Next, look at the collision preset, which is currently set to physics actor. Change this to custom, and then set the pawn response to ignore, which ensures that the player can walk through the item instead of being blocked by it. If you later want the item to be picked up automatically when the player walks over it, you can set this to overlap instead and trigger your pickup logic on overlap. Make sure to save your blueprint regularly while working. Now we take care of the logic that runs when we want to pick up the item. Double-click the interact function from the interface, which creates it here as an event, very similar to what we already did with the storage boxes, but this time we use it to run the item pickup logic. When we interact with the item, we first need to know what kind of item this actually is. For that, we create two simple variables that hold the item information. First, add a new variable named item data asset of type PDA item data soft object reference, which gives this dropped actor a lightweight reference to the actual item data without forcing it to stay loaded all the time. Then create a second variable named quantity of type integer, which stores how many items this world pickup should represent. Now set both variables to instance editable and expose on spawn, so we can later define these values directly when the item is spawned into the world and immediately know which item data and quantity belong to that spawned actor. Next, inside event interact, add a switch has authority node, which ensures that only the server executes the pickup logic, because inventory changes in a multiplayer game must be handled on the authoritative side to stay correct and replicated properly. After that, add a branch node so we can catch a simple setup error in case no valid item was assigned. To do that, drag in item data asset as a get node, call as valid soft object reference on it, and connect the return value to the condition pin of the branch node. If the item is valid, we now create the item data that should be added to the inventory. Call on item data asset the make item to add node and pass in the quantity, so we now have a proper item payload that we want to insert into the inventory. But before we can actually add it, we need a function that handles that part. For this, we keep the logic very simple and create a new function inside the player character named addItem to inventory, which will act as the entry point for adding a picked up item into the character inventory. One important note here, this is intentionally a very simple approach. A cleaner setup would be to use interfaces here as well, instead of placing this logic directly inside the player character. The goal right now is to build a simple path first, so the logic stays easy to follow. Later, we can refactor this into a cleaner interface-based solution, and that will also make it much easier to understand how the system works and where the real advantage of interfaces comes from. Now add an input named item to add of type s_inventory slot, which is the item data we want to add into the inventory. Then add an output named successfully of type boolean, which tells us whether adding the item actually worked or not. What this function should do first is try to place the item into our main inventory. So drag in BPC inventory as a get node and call addItem server on it. But now we run into a problem. If we open addItem server, we can see that it is only an event, and events do not have a return value. They are more like execute and continue, which means they are useful for triggering logic, but not when we need a result back. For this case, that is not enough, because we need to know whether adding the item succeeded or failed. So now go into BPC inventory and create a new function named addItem on server, which we will use whenever we want to add a new item from an external blueprint. Inside this function, simply call the internal addItem function and pass item to add into it, because addItem already contains the actual logic for inserting the item into the inventory. After that, add the return node and return the successfully value, so this function gives us direct feedback about whether adding the item worked or not. Now one important detail. With this function, we must make sure ourselves that only the server is allowed to call it. This is very important, because inventory changes must always happen on the authoritative side in multiplayer. Otherwise, clients could run logic locally that is not valid or replicated correctly. With the old event-based version, that safety was already built in, because the event was marked as run on server. But with a normal function, that does not happen automatically, so here we must control that ourselves and only call this function from server-side logic. Now we go back to the add item to inventory function inside the player character. Here we can now call add item on server on the inventory component. At this point, you will still see the old add item server event. Since we do not want to use that anymore, we now do the following. Inside BPC inventory, select the add item server event, then on the right side expand advanced and set deprecated to true, which marks this event as outdated and tells the engine that it should no longer be used for new logic. You will also notice that the node now gets a blue highlight with a warning message, which makes it very easy to spot older logic that should be replaced. This is generally a very good way to handle refactoring. When you rebuild parts of your system, marking old functions or variables as deprecated helps Unreal show clear warnings, so you can immediately see which parts are outdated and still need to be replaced. Now back inside the player character, if you search on the BPC inventory for add item, you will now only see our new add item on server function. The old one is hidden from the normal search, but it still continues to work anywhere it is already used. So now, after calling add item on server, we finally have the successfully returned value we need, and we use that with a branch node. If the return value is false, we try one more time to add the item into the BPC hotbar using the same function, which gives us a simple fallback in case the main inventory is already full or cannot accept the item. Whether that second attempt succeeds or not, we return the result through the return node, so this function now gives the character a simple flow where it first tries to place the item into the inventory, and if that fails, it tries the hotbar instead. Also here, we must make sure that this function is only ever called on the server, because both inventory and hotbar changes are authoritative gameplay actions and must not be executed locally on a client. A trained eye will already notice that this function still has two small mistakes. First, the true path is still missing a return node. And second, we forgot to pass item to add into the hotbar function as well. We will fix both of those in a moment. Now compile and save everything. At this point, you will also see the warning that add item server is deprecated and should later be replaced or removed. Right now, we still use it when adding items with the T key, but that is not important for the moment, because it still works as expected. We will clean that up later. For now, we continue with the interact logic inside BP item base. Here we can now call add item to inventory on the character ref. I will first quickly fix the typo in the function name, so it stays clean and readable. The I was still lowercase there. Now call add item to inventory directly from the true execution path, so we make sure this function is only executed by the server, and pass in the item we want to add. This means the world item now hands over its item data to the character, and the character then tries to insert it into the inventory or hotbar through the logic we just created. From the false execution path of the branch node, add a simple print string node with a message that the item data asset is invalid, was not set, or is otherwise missing. This is just simple debug feedback, but it helps a lot when you need to quickly spot setup mistakes. At the end, check whether the item was successfully added to the inventory or not. If it was successful, call destroy actor, because once the item has been transferred into the inventory, the world actor is no longer needed and should be removed on the server, which then replicates that removal correctly to all clients. Now when we go back to the map view and drag BP_item base into the level, we can already see the iron axe in the world. With that, the first part of the item setup is now done. Not everything works perfectly yet, but the foundation for dropped items is now in place. In the next lecture, we will finish the functionality, so we can drop items from the inventory, pick them back up, support more polished logic, and also prepare this setup so it can later work with individual item blueprints as well. I hope that was not too complicated. I am trying to keep everything simple at the beginning, and later we will also move more of this over to interfaces once the full logic is easier to understand. See you in the next episode.